All right, we're live. um, Hello, world. I'm Max. Welcome to another episode of the State Copy Pod. As always, I'll remind you that this content is meant to be consumed in series from the beginning. See episode 0 for all applicable terms and disclosures. I've written myself some notes because I want to cover a lot of ground and not much time. I'm going to meet a buddy for lunch. So today I want to explore some of the core or kind of lowest level ways I think to try and give context to future episodes. For most of my kind of traditional 9 to 5 professional life, I was in software. This means I think like an engineer, kind of. What does that mean? If I had to distill it down, it's that I really like the phrase, there is no magic. That came from a book I read when I was in my 20s. A couple really powerful magicians had this kind of inside joke with each other. This is Raymond Feast, Pug and Nakor. They had this kind of inside joke with each other that there is no magic, and I always liked that. The way what I took from that is that you can break apart any complex system and abstract away all of that complexity, and even if it's at its core, everything is sort of technology. Like, this podcast, the monitor, the camera, the microphone, all of this would look like magic to somebody 1,000 years ago. But today we can explain how all these things work. And we got there by embracing this idea that there is no magic, that you can sort of abstract away all the complexity and understand from sort of like a first principles perspective how a thing works. And that gives you incredible power to repair it when it breaks. You can optimize it for better function. You can refactor it. You can understand all of the cogs in the machine and how they interplay with each other, and you can cut out entire sections and redesign them from the very bottom level all the way to the top for better function. What does this mean? So when you think about this and when you approach things that way, you can begin applying them to you can apply that way of thought to everything, even really important questions like, what am I? What is this for? What is this universe, and how does it work? So how do I think about that? Like, when I think about kind of like how do I use that methodology to understand what I am? Okay, so we live in this beautiful time where there's all these resources available that teach me that I'm sort of a collection of neurons that function in a neural net that is capable of learning things. And I've evolved to a certain compute capacity and ability to learn, to have to do sort of higher level thought than at least other competing nodes, if you will, other neural nets in my ecosystem, from bacteria to a duck or a deer or a bear to humans. we all are a collection of neurons that are capable of learning and are sort of competing in an ecosystem with each other to optimize. Um, so I'm a neural net, and I have a bunch of support systems. I have systems that help fuel my neural net and keep me alive biologically. And I have there was an important note I wish I'd captured in my notes right there along that that vein of thought. But if I am sort of a neural net, what I wanted to say is I'm not just support systems that keep me alive. I'm also I have systems like my eyes, my ears, my skin, my nose that are feeding in sensory data to that neural net, and then that neural net is interpreting all of that sensory data in real time, and then I'm acting on it. So if I had to think about the engineering of what's happening in there, is I am sort of a learning computer that has kind of like a base human OS that's I got from my genetic heritage, and with some subtle tweaks and the variables, which might be hormone levels or whatever, or all of that makes me different than another human as an infant. And then I have so that kind of covers the nature part of it, and then there's the nurture, which is just the entire collection of experiences from conception to this moment. And that's what runs the model that I have. And then I kind of break that up into kind of two main regions. I have this like a real-time engine, and that's going to be really performant processes that control like my actions. Because if you think about it, almost everything you're doing is autopilot. You have kind of an automatic response to the data that's coming in that is pre-configured based on all of those experiences. So, and you're not really so if you've ever had that moment where you're like, God damn, I wish I would have said this, or I wish I would have done this, or I wish I would have behaved this way, that's because we also have this other major section of what our neural net's capable of doing, where we do this after analysis, where we can look in. So your memory is taking important imagery, concepts, things you recall that people say, and you're kind of storing that away. Some part of the brain is doing that, and you have an indexing service that lets you tag that with things like what day it occurred on, where you were when it happened, who the players were in a conversation. And then you can call that back up and you can process it later. You can do like post-processing, where you look at, oh shit, I wish I hadn't said that, or I wish I hadn't done that. So this is really interesting to me when I think about, people talk about like simulation theory. As an engineer, I can do a useful abstraction of how this all works, where I can say, of course this is a simulation. I have proof this is a simulation. I know enough about how what I am is to know that everything that's happening around me and the entire nature of the universe is a model I'm running up here, being fed by all of the sensory data. So in a very real sense, you are in a simulation of your own mind, that your own mind is creating in real time. there's a lot of useful things you can do with that knowledge, because from there you realize that I don't even know where to start. It's so big. Once you grab onto that thought that you're, um, it means you can wrestle away some control on some level. Like if you look at what a deer or a, a, a much simpler neural net in this ecosystem is doing, they're almost entirely driven by that real-time processor. Oh shit, what's that smell? Is it a predator? Am I about to die? Should I dart this way or should I dart that way? Um, I think there's some good grass over there for me to eat. Much simpler real-time processor than what a human's doing. Um, now, uh, and the post-analysis engine, the ability to call up memory and then do useful analysis on it. A deer doesn't have anything like that, right? Um, now, what seems really cool, what our major, I guess, advantage is in this circle of life on our little planet, in competing with all the other species that have evolved alongside us. We evolved thumbs, which gave us the ability to create tools. So that's a useful sort of biological evolution. But we also developed this deeply analytical component of our neural nets that it seems like other species just haven't evolved to the same level. And there's probably a progression that really explains that well. But I think our key innovation is, so those are sort of the biological ones, but the ones that what we've done with that's useful is this mesh network that we have. So as an engineer, I really just think of us all as nodes on a network. And the key advantage we have over all of our competitors in this ecosystem is our ability to collaborate and coordinate. And that's our network. So from a first principles perspective, the way I view that, the way I describe that is it started with hand signals, and then it probably evolved into speech, and we propagated that knowledge on our network because we have this really sort of, it's all probably kind of a really beautiful dance that occurred over time with having that higher level of sort of analytical ability. Well, so we had hand gestures, then we had speech, and then we developed written language, and then we developed the printing press. And then we developed harnessing electricity. And so all these other useful innovations all culminated in the internet. And then we developed cheap streaming audio video, which brings me in front of you right now. All of this is just improving the interconnect between all the nodes on our network. So now we can propagate. So we can do a lot of things far more efficiently than our ancestors. Now we can store all of the data we've accumulated very efficiently. We can index it and recall it. We can create human engineered neural nets that can retrieve that data efficiently. And then we can utilize it it all creates this very beautiful, virtuous cycle where, like, as amazing as I think my little, neural net is, and all of the So a thing that I like to do as an engineer is think about how do I optimize mine, and then how do I optimize the network, right? So if the key innovation of our species is our network and our ability to collaborate, store data that we learn over time, and then continue to iterate and optimize on it. If our key optimization, or if our key advantage is each other and our interconnect, then I don't think the answer is trying. I think the way we evolve as a species is in further and further and further improving that interconnect to where we become sort of a species consciousness. I don't know what that looks like. That's a wild thought. But I think it's really useful to think in these terms, because then I think that you can do a lot of useful abstraction about the human condition. What you can make exponential gains in like, once you recognize that this is how it works, then you can invest all your resources into improving what matters, which is optimizing function of this thing, and then optimizing function of our interconnect with each other. That's kind of what I'm trying to do here. So I'm trying to write network software for our network and propagate it. I'm trying to take everything I've learned through this network and distill it down into some useful software for everybody else. And a lot of people just look at me like I have 5 heads, Lithuanian expression, or that I've am overthinking things. But I'm hoping that some of you other nodes out there this way of looking at things will resonate with you, and we can connect, and we can share ideas and have thoughtful conversation about what to do with that abstraction. So I think I'm about out of time. I'm going to stop here. So just a short one today. But tomorrow, I think I'm going to spend a bunch of time talking about what I've learned about optimizing my own neural net. I think that's a useful continuation of this. And then we'll take it from there. Thanks for joining me today, whoever did. Bye.